Hello friends, welcome to the moving process, moving diaries. This is a story about learning to believe in myself. I'm Piper, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, and I've always wanted to say that because exactly this week, 4 years ago, I moved to New York City to be just that, and I didn't know at the time how much I would struggle for my own doing. So this is me reflecting on the unpredictable journey it's taken for me to get to a place where I can say I'm proud of the new mindset I've adopted. It allows me to find fulfillment and be present in my life. So 6 months after graduating from art school with a degree in textile design, the timing and circumstances made it so that I got a COVID deal. I moved to Manhattan into this little cozy studio. This is my current office. There's not very much space to look at, guys. I had this itch to move here and continue my shop business, and I imagined building this lifestyle as a practicing artist and painter and have an active community of creatives. I felt I couldn't find that the same way in the Bay Area for sure because it's so tech heavy. So I was lucky enough to move to the city, and I found new management at the time, and I supported myself doing content creation. I got to slow down and finally breathe after so much intensity because the last 4 years of full-time school, I was also juggling YouTube as work, and I was working my ass off. I had no life, but it was worth it for me. Good morning, Bambi. Good morning, Prairie. I got to basically have an extended summer break for a while and settle into what adult life meant. So there was a lot of wandering aimlessly. I would come home to my 2 furry best friends, and that was life. I was keeping up with things, paying my bills. I even started therapy full-time, which was a huge reason for my eventual progress and self-growth. Very important. I ended up doing therapy for 3 years. And when the dust began to settle and quiet down, I had this scary realization that there isn't the next semester coming, that I didn't have any more assignments to answer to. There's no predictable structure outside of content creation. So typically, as a post-grad in my early 20s, I experienced a lot of existential turmoil, my mid or quarter life crisis, excuse me. I have a treat for him. But it was still fun that I lived in New York and I had my own studio. But both in art and making videos, I felt extremely blocked and so much pressure building. Granted, I was inexperienced. I didn't have a mentor. I wish I did. I didn't know how to dictate my own hours and creative projects. And I don't even know how I passed a lot of time, but I definitely wasn't applying myself because I felt like I was just getting by with like this sliver of self-confidence, and my mental health was just so shot. I was heavy with anxiety, and granted, I was also grieving the loss of my dad. Ever since he was diagnosed with cancer in my last year of high school, I feel like it really shaped who I was to cope with that constant grief and fear and shame. I had this sense of wanting to prove to my family that I was having a happy life, that my dad knew I was safe and okay and that I was gonna be okay. And I also wanted to prove to my viewers and the public eye that I was doing something worthwhile and I'm not an embarrassment and art is a real job and whatever, you know? Ultimately, I felt really guilty when I wasn't using my resources well, or like I didn't have so much art to show for myself. And my mom reminded me that it's my money, I can spend it how I want. Even if I didn't make it to the studio and I wasn't productive every day, I had the option to do so, which was what I was paying for, and that's something I owned. So that wisdom really helped me. I remember talking to my sister a lot about wanting more as an artist, but feeling so fearful. And she even pushed me to just upright and quit content creation because she felt like it was a safety net and it was really holding me back. And I needed to take a risk and have faith in myself and in my dreams. But I was afraid, and I tried to find a happy medium. Like, for example, I made a number of great friends. I had no idea that I'd actually be living with one of them in just a few years, but I was chatting with them, and serendipitously, it got me to apartment hunt that very night. And I found my own 2-bedroom place. And I thought, great, I can save money, I can use a home office now, and grow my online business. But in practice, my life was so insular. What you're looking at is a refrigerator. They do make them that big. Everything is moved in. And I didn't have roots in the city or community yet. I was very uninspired and lonely. I think do my therapy homework, 'cause I
And I want everybody to have a very happy and very pleasant, very healthy New Year. And forget about all the other drama as best you can.
Nice.
All right. Bye.
And overall, I also felt like my interests and focus in my content began to shift into self-development as that became a big value of mine. But to be honest, also, something that had been underlying through these last couple of years was that a lot of my energy was being drained into unhealthy romantic relationships. Looking back, I realized that it was my fear of also being independent, being out here alone, that created so much attachment into relationships, even when they clearly weren't serving me. And I don't mean to shame myself because, codependency, like you would understand if you've been there. Instead of leaving, I put a lot of effort into trying to fix things and just make it better, and I was so dysregulated a lot of the time. Even watching this footage, my chest feels tight because my body remembers how hard it was. And I don't mean to blame my ex-partners. I feel like every relationship is equally responsible on the people who came in it, and whatever wavelength you are on, you are attracting to you. So I do feel like I learned that who I was attracting and manifesting these relationships where we really hurt each other. But at least I learned so much. It took learning the hard way to finally hit rock bottom, because that's when I started really letting everything go. The universe was showing me that if I were to hold on so tightly to things that weren't serving me, I will lose out. Like so many things, whether it was financial opportunities or just random things. Surprisingly unfortunate, I was losing opportunities. I was like, is this my sign to quit? Do I need to leave New York and give up? I'm gonna scooter now.
When you look out on the open road, and for me, I always like to go and time travel about 2 years ahead, because I think in 24 months, you can chip away and make just about anything happen.
Like my depression, it was trying to convince me that this was all my fault. I would never be able to feel like I have the ability to work and create anything of substance again. I truly felt like I was done. It was what it was trying to convince me of. And I'm so grateful because I sought out professional help. And if it weren't for my family and my friends supporting me, I wouldn't actually have climbed out of that hole. Walking over to a friend's house for board games. I felt really ashamed. Like at that time I burned through my savings because I was just getting by at the lowest points of my mental health. And at one point, the worst relationship that I would have gotten in, it pushed me to have life-ending thoughts. And that was scary for me. I'm on my own journey, and until I could allow myself to take ownership of all the good and bad in my life, nothing is going to change for me. And the ironic thing is, it's only when I had lost so much that I finally realized that nothing would truly work out if I didn't really come to terms with my relationship to myself, and I couldn't really build anything without a healthy foundation. So, it really sparked something. Like my family supported me in taking a risk and finally getting an art studio. Everything is pretty much arranged to be picked up and the movers are coming. And at that time, I was in a relationship where the person I was with made me really doubt if I could be a successful artist, and it just made me feel like I was shrinking more and more throughout that time of being with them. I'm kind of dropping you in the middle of this new chapter. It finally took me investing enough into my shop business where I literally could not risk letting my family down. All of the time and money that we invested, there was no turning back. Lots of things are changing. I had to end this relationship, and that was actually a huge point of transformation for me internally, because I started realizing what I manifested just from that perspective shift, and sitting with myself through the long, lonely, painful nights and realizing I'm still here, and finally decentralizing men. But later that year, I would actually meet somebody who's very special, and I wouldn't have pictured that I would have such a happy, healthy relationship. So I started my business. I've come a long way, but honestly, I'm just starting out.
This is your choice to do business.
The biggest achievement in all of this time is the internal shift, and that's my urgent message to you. Meanwhile, I've made attempts to see my friends all week. I hope that you know that there's always help out there for you, and that you just gotta believe in yourself, because nothing is worth it. No amount of external riches and wealth can buy that for you. So now I feel rooted in my values, I'm surrounded by good relationships, and I have good health, and that's all I could ask for. And in many ways, I've gotten everything I ever wanted, so I'm excited to get the opportunity to become even more than I can imagine from today forward. So thank you so much for listening to my story. You know, even when I believed so little of myself, the world and the people that surrounded me, they showed me beauty and hope, and that saved me. So life is about togetherness, and I love you. Thanks for watching and listening to my story, and I'll see you next week.
Remember the names and faces I loved, who always believed in who I'd become. The highs and the lows, the hellos and goodbyes that made up the scenes of this beautiful life. The lights will come on, I know it's almost time. Just let me sit through the